The Grand Galactic Coalition's Central Council chamber floated serenely in the void, an architectural masterpiece of crystalline glass and anti-gravity fields. It was here, in the heart of intergalactic diplomacy, that some of the most crucial decisions in the known universe were made. Today, however, was not one of those days. Chairman Enzilvok, a particularly long-limbed and tentacle-faced bureaucrat, waved a gelatinous appendage toward the enormous holographic display in the middle of the chamber. As we all can see, the species known as humans are not only unsophisticated, but a genuine threat to the integrity of galactic civilization. The display flickered, and a montage of absolute stupidity played before the gathered council members. A human soldier tripped over his own feet during a parade, knocking down an entire row of troops like a set of dominoes. A fighter jet veered off course, crashing spectacularly into a barn after the pilot got distracted swatting at a fly. A group of infantrymen were shown arguing over whether a grenade was, in fact, a potato, until one threw it at the mess hall. The footage cut to black, followed by a distant explosion and screaming. The chamber erupted in laughter. A lizard-like general from the Zarek Empire slapped his armored knee, barely keeping his forked tongue in his mouth. Strategist Zelor 3, a cybernetic AI encased in a shimmering energy field, emitted a staticky noise that might have been its version of chuckling. "These humans," continued Enzilvok, voice dripping with condescension. "They have petitioned for entry into the Grand Galactic Coalition. They believe they deserve a place among our most esteemed and—" he twitched a tentacle in disgust. "Civilized members." The laughter grew louder. Seated at a lone, human-sized podium at the far end of the chamber, Ambassador Jack Whiskey Harrison took a long, deliberate sip from a hip flask before leaning forward with an unimpressed stare. He had seen many things during his military career: artillery barrages, guerrilla warfare, soldiers getting stuck in vending machines, but nothing tested his patience quite like dealing with alien bureaucrats. "You done?" Jack asked, his voice carrying just enough of a southern drawl to make the words sound even more casual than they were meant to be. Chairman Enzilvok's beady eyes widened. "Excuse me? I mean, is this the part where you all pat yourselves on the back for being so much smarter than us?" Jack unscrewed the flask cap again. "Or are you actually going to put your money where your mouth is?" The chamber quieted. The aliens did not like the way Jack's lips had curled into that particular kind of human smirk, Enzilvok scoffed. "Ambassador Harrison, your species' incompetence speaks for itself. I fail to see what—" "Then let's settle it," Jack interrupted. "A good old-fashioned test. You pick your best marksman, and we'll put up one of ours. We win. You take our coalition application seriously." The council chamber buzzed with murmurs. "A contest?" General Kagrak the Unyielding leaned forward, intrigued. "You believe a human can best our greatest sniper?" "Oh, I don't believe it," Jack said. "I know it." Chairman Enzilvok's tentacles flexed in irritation, but he sensed an opportunity. If the humans lost spectacularly, and they would, it would permanently put an end to their ridiculous requests for galactic recognition. "Very well," Enzilvok said, a smug gurgle in his throat. "We accept your challenge." 2 days. Later, the marksmanship contest was held on the GGC's state-of-the-art training planet, a sterile simulation world equipped with every technological advancement known to the galaxy. Drones whizzed overhead, monitoring every angle. Holographic targeting grids hovered in midair, displaying each competitor's accuracy down to the nanometer. The GGC's champion was a sleek, bioengineered alien sniper named Vrex Tal 13. 7. Feet of genetically enhanced muscle, Vrex's eyes glowed with cybernetic precision as his targeting software calculated every atmospheric factor in real time. His rifle was a masterpiece of engineering, capable of adjusting for gravitational shifts, wind speed, and even quantum interference. Then, there was the human. Sergeant Randy Boomer Jenkins, fresh off a 3-day bender, rolled up to the competition. In a beat-up Humvee he had somehow smuggled onto the planet. He wore a faded cowboy hat, sunglasses that may or may not have been purchased at a gas station, and a tank top that read, If you ain't first, you're last. In one hand, he carried a cooler of beer. In the other, he held Betsy, a battered old bolt-action rifle that looked like it had seen action in at least 3 world wars. The aliens murmured in confusion. Is this a joke? And Zilvok sneered. That human is intoxicated. Nah, he's just hydrated, Jack said, completely unbothered. Rex Tal 13 stepped onto the firing platform with the grace of a professional assassin, smoothly lining up his shot. The target was a microchip-sized drone, hovering precisely 2 miles away. The crowd held its breath. Rex exhaled, fired, a perfect shot. The scoreboard flashed. Bullseye, 100% accuracy. The aliens erupted in cheers. Then Boomer ambled up to his station, casually set his beer down, and belched. He squinted toward the distant drone, one eye half closed in a mixture of hangover and deep, instinctual wisdom. Without even bothering to lie prone or adjust his rifle, he took a single lazy shot. The bullet ricocheted off 3 separate pieces of equipment, bounced off a reflective panel, clipped a passing drone for good measure, and somehow, nailed the target dead center. The scoreboard exploded in sparks. The chamber was silent. Strategist Zelor 3 emitted an error message. General Kagrak's jaw unhinged in disbelief. Boomer took a long sip of his beer. Huh? He said. Didn't even have to try. Chairman Zilvok looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel. What kind of nonsense? Looks like we win, Jack said, flashing his best diplomatic grin. So, about that coalition membership, Zilvok seethed. His tentacles trembled. This was a fluke, a mere accident. It proves nothing, Jack leaned back, raising an eyebrow. Oh? Want to test that theory? The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Fine, Zilvok spat. If you insist on embarrassing yourselves further, we propose a full-scale battlefield simulation. Your military against ours. Surely a contest of such scale will expose your kind's pathetic shortcomings once and for all. Jack's grin widened. Oh, buddy, you have no idea what you just signed up for. 2 weeks later, the Grand Galactic Coalition's most advanced military training planet, designated PR-47, was prepared for the battlefield simulation. It was an expansive wargame environment, complete with variable terrains, artificial weather, patterns, and automated combat drones that could simulate real-time engagements with deadly accuracy. The entire GGC military hierarchy was watching, confident in their inevitable victory. For their part, the humans had set up camp in the most absurdly casual manner possible. While the GGC's elite soldiers meticulously calibrated their weapons, analyzed satellite feeds, and conducted strategic briefings, the humans were grilling hot dogs over a makeshift fire pit, playing cards, and loudly arguing over who was the best action movie hero of all time. Major Mad Dog McConnell, the commander of the human forces, leaned against an armored vehicle that looked suspiciously like a repurposed pickup truck. He wore mirrored aviators, a camouflage jacket covered in patches, and a devil-may-care smirk that suggested he had already won before the fight had even started. Across the camp, Private Larry Lucky Thompson was busy duct-taping an unidentifiable electronic device to a drone, despite repeated warnings from their designated tech specialist that, bro, that's not how drones work. Meanwhile, Sergeant Randy Boomer Jenkins had already set up his sniper perch, inside a lawn chair, beer in one hand, rifle in the other. His cowboy hat was tilted just enough to shield his eyes from the artificial sun. The opposition, in stark contrast, was a finely tuned war machine. The GGC's military was composed of multiple species, all of them bred for battle. The reptilian Zarak Empire had fielded their best warriors, each one a 7-foot-tall, muscle-bound predator with razor-sharp instincts. The Fluber Confederacy, despite their gelatinous, amorphous bodies, were tactical geniuses, capable of maneuvering with fluid-like precision. The cybernetic Zelor 3 war drones, coldly efficient and programmed for nothing but pure combat, were designated as support units. At the heart of the Coalition's battle strategy was General Kagrak the Unyielding, a towering lizard general who had never lost a simulated war game. His forces had the best weapons, the best intelligence, and the best tactics. He had no doubt that the humans, primitive, reckless, and tactically inferior, would be annihilated before the first hour was up. Standing beside him in the command center, Chairman Nzilvok was practically giddy with anticipation. "The humans have no chance," the squid-faced bureaucrat muttered smugly. "This will be a massacre." General Kagrak crossed his arms. "It is necessary to teach them humility. Once they see how outmatched they are, they will abandon their foolish aspirations." A chime echoed through the chamber. The war game was about to begin. On the battlefield, a robotic voice boomed across the terrain, simulation commencing in 5, 4, 3. The first hour of the battle went exactly as expected. The GGC forces moved with ruthless efficiency, executing flawless maneuvers and securing key positions. Their formations were perfect, their communications seamless. Every strategic advantage was in their favor. The humans, on the other hand, seemed completely unaware they were in a war game. Instead of setting up conventional defenses, they had littered their base with what appeared to be beer cans, lawn chairs, and several inflatable pool toys. No one knew how they got those. Some troops were playing cornhole, while others were engaged in a heated debate over whether a cheeseburger was technically a sandwich. General Kagrak, watching from the command center, frowned. "Are they even taking this seriously?" Nzilvok scoffed. "Typical humans. They lack discipline." That was when the first unexpected thing happened. A unit of Zarek warriors had begun their assault, moving in tight formation, advancing through the dense jungle portion of the battlefield. Their infrared sensors detected movement in the trees. They readied their plasma rifles, only for the entire forest to explode in fireworks. Boom, boom, boom. Screaming, the lizard warriors dove for cover as colorful flares shot in every direction, accompanied by what appeared to be patriotic country music blasting from hidden speakers. "What is happening?" Kagrak bellowed. In the distance, a Gahabi human soldier cackled over the comms. "Y'all ever heard of psychological warfare? 'Cause you're in it now." Back at the human base, Major McConnell was leaning against a crate, sipping a beer. "How we looking, boys?" Boomer's voice crackled over the radio. "They're real confused, boss. Also, I may have taped a grenade to a raccoon." McConnell nodded approvingly. "Outstanding." The second unexpected event occurred when the Fluba forces attempted an aerial drone strike. Their cybernetic strategist, Zelor 3, had coordinated a precision bombing run, sending a squadron of automated attack drones straight toward the human encampment. The drones were equipped with state-of-the-art targeting algorithms and could not miss. Unfortunately for them, neither could Private Larry "Lucky" Thompson. The bumbling, clueless soldier had, against all logic, used a slingshot to launch a small, unidentified object into the air. The object, through a series of improbable bounces, ricochets, and what could only be described as divine intervention, slammed into the lead drone, causing a catastrophic chain reaction. Boom! The entire drone squadron exploded mid-air. Silence followed. General Kagrak's eyes twitched. How did they? Nzilvok was gripping the table with all 6 tentacles visibly shaking. "That was impossible," McConnell smirked. "Buddy, you ain't seen nothing yet." By hour 3, the GGC forces were in complete disarray. The humans had turned the battlefield into absolute chaos. One Zarek tank unit had been taken out by a single Marine with a sledgehammer, who had somehow wedged himself inside the vehicle and started punching buttons at random. A team of Fluber commandos infiltrated the human base, only to be captured, blindfolded, and forced to play beer pong for their freedom. An elite sniper squad had been eliminated by accident when Boomer, attempting to shoot a beer bottle off a fence, ricocheted a bullet across 6 different surfaces before taking them all out. The final straw came when a human helicopter pilot, known only as Crazy Mike, did a backflip in midair, purely to prove he could. The entire GGC command center went silent. General Kagrak took a long, deep breath. We're doomed. And Zilvok looked like he had swallowed a rock. We should retreat. The war game was officially over. As the humans celebrated with an impromptu barbecue, Major McConnell picked up his radio. "Jack, you there?" Jack Harrison's voice came through. "I'm here. How bad did we humiliate him?" McConnell grinned. "Well, the squid guy just fainted, so I'd say mission accomplished." The battlefield, once a pristine training ground for the Grand Galactic Coalition's most elite warriors, now looked like an interstellar frat party gone horribly, horribly wrong. Smoke rose from various inexplicable sources. Alien troops staggered around in states of complete mental and physical exhaustion. Somewhere in the distance, an alien general was curled up in the fetal position, softly murmuring to himself in his native tongue. The humans, on the other hand, were thriving. Boomer had set up what could only be described as an impromptu tailgate party in the middle of what used to be a strategic command outpost. A group of U.S. soldiers had formed a circle, taking turns attempting to ride what looked like a large, confused reptilian war beast they had somehow tamed and renamed Betsy Jr. In the air, Crazy Mike continued doing completely unnecessary helicopter stunts, making dive passes at retreating alien units while blasting Danger Zone over his external speakers. At the heart of this complete and utter catastrophe was General Kagrak the Unyielding, who no longer looked unyielding. In fact, he looked incredibly yielded. He stood motionless in the middle of the GGC command tent, staring blankly at the battle map, which no longer had any recognizable strategic positions because the humans had completely ignored the concept of formations, planning, and general common sense. Chairman Enzilvok, still trying to process what had just happened, flailed his tentacles in agitation. This must be some kind of prank. A glitch in the simulation, perhaps. General Kigrak exhaled sharply, his reptilian claws tightening into fists. "It's not a glitch." Enzilvok turned, stunned. "How can you be certain?" "Because," Kigrak growled, "they are still doing it." The chairman hesitated before slowly turning back to the battlefield. Sure enough, the humans were still actively making a complete mockery of the simulation. One soldier was grilling hot dogs on the burning wreckage of a Zarek hover tank. Another was riding a stolen GGC hoverbike, doing wheelies while drinking a beer. In the middle of it all, Major McConnell was lounging in a hammock strung between two wrecked alien mechs, sipping a cold beverage. "I don't understand," Enzilvok whispered in horror. "They don't follow strategy. They don't follow tactics. They don't even seem to take warfare seriously." General Kagrak clenched his jaw. "They don't follow our rules." Meanwhile, back at the battlefield, Ambassador Jack Harrison had arrived in a sleek, diplomatic shuttle. The moment he stepped out, a soldier immediately handed him a beer, because of course they did. Jack took a sip before surveying the destruction around him. "So," he said, adjusting his suit jacket. "Did we win?" Major McConnell chuckled. "Oh, we won so hard they might need therapy." Jack gave an approving nod before striding toward what was left of the GGC's command structure, where General Kagrak and Chairman Enzilvok were waiting. The moment the human diplomat approached, Enzilvok recoiled, as if Jack were carrying some contagious form of pure chaos. Jack took another sip of his beer. "Well, gentlemen, I think that settles it." Enzilvok's mouth tentacles twitched violently. This was not a true test of warfare. You cheated." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Cheated? We followed the rules. You just didn't expect us to be this good at ignoring common sense." Kagrak, rubbing his temples, let out a deep, exhausted sigh. "Your forces do not operate within any known strategic doctrine. You ignore supply lines. You disregard cover. You willingly charge into battle without proper reconnaissance." He shook his head. "And yet, you win." Jack smirked. "Welcome to humanity." For a long moment, the chamber was silent except for the distant sounds of fireworks being set off for no apparent reason. Then, finally, Kagrak lifted his gaze. "What exactly do you want?" Jack straightened his tie. "Oh, not much. Just a little respect, and maybe a seat at the Coalition's Military Advisory Board." Zilvok violently choked on air. "You want to be advisors? To the galaxy's most prestigious military forces?" Jack grinned. "Why not? I think we've made a compelling argument." Kagrak exhaled sharply, glancing toward the battlefield. One last time. He saw a U.S. soldier teaching a horrified Zarak warrior how to shotgun a beer. He saw a Fluber alien stuck in a human-made duct tape trap, sobbing softly. He saw Boomer casually lining up impossible sniper shots while petting a space raccoon he had apparently adopted. He knew, in his heart, that the warriors of the galaxy would never be the same. Kagrak turned back to Jack, defeated. "We will consider your proposal." Jack raised his beer in a mock toast. "Attaboy." The Grand Galactic Coalition's High Council chamber had never been this quiet before. The air inside the massive floating space megaplex felt heavier than usual, like the entire room was suffocating under the weight of an unthinkable decision. The center of it all, Chairman Zilvok sat frozen in his elevated position, his gelatinous tentacles twitching slightly as he struggled to process what had just occurred. To his right, General Kagrak the Unyielding looked like a lizard who had just seen the end of his entire species' dominance in real time. Ambassador Jack Whiskey Harrison, sitting comfortably in his seat, knew that look. He had seen it before, mostly on fresh young officers after their first bar fight with a group of Marines. It was the look of a man who had just realized that the laws of reality did not apply to the people he had underestimated. The battlefield simulation had ended in the most horrifying way possible. The humans had won. And not just won, they had, utterly, absolutely, mercilessly, humiliated the greatest military forces the galaxy had to offer. Jack leaned forward slightly, casually sipping a glass of whiskey that he had somehow smuggled into the highly formal council meeting. He set the glass down with a small clink. "So," he said, voice smooth as silk, "shall we discuss humanity's terms for joining the coalition?" And Zilvok made a strangled noise somewhere between a gurgle and a panic attack. You cheated," the squid-faced bureaucrat finally blurted, slamming a tentacle against the table. "There is no way a species as reckless, as disorganized as you animals, could possibly have won without foul play." General Kagrak, however, remained silent. His clawed hands were steepled together in deep thought, his yellow eyes locked onto Jack like a predator trying to understand why its prey was laughing at it. Jack smirked. "We followed the rules. You just didn't expect us to be this good at making up our own." The chamber erupted into murmurs. Dozens of alien representatives whispered furiously to one another, desperate to rationalize how this had happened. The Fluber delegate, a translucent blob-like being with a smooth, pulsating form, wobbled forward. How do your warriors operate like this? You reject strategy, ignore logic, disobey orders, and yet you succeed." Jack raised an eyebrow. "I mean, you say that like it's a bad thing." "It is," Zilvok shrieked. "You have no discipline, no coordination. You fight like a band of deranged, intoxicated barbarians." Jack shrugged. "And yet, here we are." Kagrak's claws dug into the polished obsidian table. "The Zarak Empire has trained warriors for thousands of cycles. We forge our soldiers in the harshest conditions. We cultivate discipline from birth. And yet," he exhaled sharply, glaring. "A single drunken human sniper outperformed our greatest marksman while sitting in a lawn chair." Jack nodded solemnly. "Yep." Kagrak's eye twitched. "And," Jack continued, "a private with a slingshot took out your most advanced aerial drone fleet." Kagrak's claws snapped a piece of the obsidian table clean off. "And your most elite infantry forces were defeated by a bunch of guys who, if I'm being honest, spent half their time arguing about whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich." The council chamber fell into stunned silence. Zilvok trembled. This is a disgrace. No, Kagrak muttered. It is worse. He finally turned to face Zilvok fully. They are correct. The room froze. Zilvok's bulbous eyes bulged in horrified betrayal. You, what? How can you? Kagrak slammed his fist on the table, rattling everything on it. They defeated us. We have trained for perfection in war, yet they have thrived in chaos. We have prided ourselves on discipline, yet they have embraced improvisation. His gaze locked onto Jack. The humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Jack smiled. Aw, shucks, you're making me blush, Kagrak continued. If we do not allow them into the coalition, we will only make them our enemies, and if that happens... He let out a slow, defeated breath. Then I fear there is no force in this universe that will survive them. The room remained dead silent. Jack swirled his whiskey glass. Now you're getting it. Zilvok looked like he was about to explode. We cannot just allow these lunatics into our ranks. They are completely uncontrollable. Jack leaned back in his chair, casual as ever. I mean, if you don't want us, that's fine. I'll just let my guys know that the coalition thinks they're too scary to be included. But, he shrugged. Who knows what happens next? The implication hung heavy in the air. Every single representative in the room suddenly had the same terrifying thought. What if humanity didn't join the coalition? What if they saw the rejection as an insult? What if they decided to do what? Humans do best. Break the rules, pick a fight, and win anyway. Kagrak, at least, knew the truth. If the humans were rejected, they wouldn't stop. They would just create their own galactic empire out of pure spite, and no one would be able to stop them. Zilvok, realizing the tide had turned against him, tensed. You have no idea what you're inviting into our ranks, he hissed. Jack grinned, knocking back the last of his whiskey. Buddy, neither do we. 2 days later, the official decree was released. By unanimous vote, and one very reluctant squid person, humanity was officially granted membership into the Grand Galactic Coalition. The galaxy would never be the same. Within hours, human soldiers were already being assigned as military advisors to various alien battle fleets. Within days, the first reports of completely absurd new battle tactics began trickling in. A group of U.S. Army Rangers taught a unit of Zarak warriors how to yeet grenades with extreme precision. A team of Marines convinced a species of 6-armed insectoids to try shotgunning energy drinks before battle, leading to horrifyingly effective results. Boomer was last seen teaching an entire sniper battalion how to set up beer pong-based training drills. And somewhere, deep within the Coalition's war archives, strategist Zelor III sat motionless, his once pristine AI mind now permanently crippled by the sheer impossibility of human tactics. Back on Earth, Ambassador Jack Harrison was enjoying a well-earned vacation. As he reclined on a beach chair, sipping another drink, he received a message from Kagrak. Harrison, they are asking me why human forces use tactical moonshine as an offensive weapon. What do I tell them, Jack? Smirked. Tell them it's classified.